people in Israel and around the world. So I am pleased, like I said, to say there are hundreds and hundreds of registrants for today's event, and you're coming from over 26 countries. So just wanted to take a moment to say hello to those in the USA, in Argentina, hi to everyone in Australia, Bolivia, California, Austria, Canada, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, England, France, India, Ireland, Israel, Malta, Mexico, Netherlands, New Zealand, Panama, Philippines, Slovakia, South Africa, Spain, Switzerland, Toronto, Trinidad, and Tobago. If it ever was a time where we need to stand unified and feel that we are one family, one heart, one soul, this is the time. And to just see representation from hundreds of you from 26 different countries warms the heart, and it's really empowering, actually, very, very empowering. And so thank you all. As we wait for our special guests, Arky and Yair, to join, just a few words about Yad Ezra V'Shulam. So Yad Ezra V'Shulam, as you know, like I said, we're all part of the family, but it goes without saying that it's worth to just remind everyone, it is one of the largest food organizations in Israel and distributes 12,000 food baskets every week and thousands of food vouchers across 91 cities. All of this is in addition to their myriad of other projects, such as daily hot meals for over 500 children, children's centers, support for widows and orphans, subsidized weddings, wedding halls, and more. I always feel like there's almost nothing that Yad Ezra V'Shulam doesn't do. And now more than ever, Yad Ezra V'Shulam is on the front lines providing aid to civilians and soldiers throughout the war, sending dozens of trucks packed with food to people in bomb shelters, cities under siege, and each truck feeds over 200 families. We've also been partners in distributing 10,000 bottles of water and snacks at the Army's request to soldiers on the front lines. And if you saw me last week, we gave over 2,200 children who were evacuated from their homes new toys and treats. We've also distributed $740,000, that's $750,000 worth of food vouchers to displaced families. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a supporter, a partner, and really just part of the Yad Ezra V'Shulam family. And now for today's program, I'm really privileged and excited and honored to see that Arky has arrived. Hi, Arky. Make sure that we can get I do want to do a proper introduction, but I do want to make sure that your audio is working.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Hey, hi everybody.
Perfectly. Where are you exactly right now, Arky? Because it's very dark. I have the lights on in my room.
Okay, I'm sitting in my Hummer outside of Gaza, and we just came back from a long day of training.
Wow.
Got me at the right time.
Okay, we planned this, so okay, I'm glad it worked out. Guys, I'm going to give you a formal introduction about Arky first, just so you understand the individual who we're speaking to, okay? So Arky Staiman. Arky was born in Baltimore, Maryland. He made Aliyah after high school and was a paratrooper in the 890th Brigade. He's currently 32 years old. He's married to Abigail Kranzler from Teaneck. They have 3 beautiful children, ages 5, 3, and 1, and he currently lives in Toccoa. Now in the reserves, he serves in the Sarika unit, which is like the Zaka, but behind enemy lines. When not in reserves, he works as a kid-friendly tour guide for families. And Arky, I cannot wait till this is all over and we win. And I'm literally taking a tour and booking you with my family, okay?
Awesome. Totally awesome.
Okay. And one more thing you guys have to know about Arky, which is sure why hundreds of you are here right now. On his Instagram account, Israel with Arky, he has made countless videos that have gone absolutely viral and just struck a chord with Jews and humans, Arky, worldwide. What gives you, you're smiling now, what gives you the strength to just like spew is the wrong word. I'm looking for like overflowing with positivity everywhere, just now and in your videos?
It's a great question. The truth is, and it's going to sound cliche, but I'm just being me. I'm not trying to be anybody else. I've seen some things in this war that I hope nobody should ever see. And people keep on asking me, how do you keep on smiling? And I'm just trying to stay myself. And I think that's part of dealing with everything in this war, is that everybody just needs to figure out who they are, what can they bring to the table. So for me, I'm just trying to keep my smile and be happy and try and spread as much light as I can.
First of all, you're absolutely doing that, Arky. Your videos have been watched by millions and millions and millions.
Thank you.
I think I'm a positive person, but so much has gotten me down in this time. So I so clearly that this is you and this is your natural state, but how are you not letting the heaviness of what's happening? And you're there on the front line seeing it more than us. How are you keeping the smile? I understand that it's like intuitive and natural to you, but maybe you could give some of us tips because we're really struggling over here.
Right. I totally get that. And I constantly just think about what does Yisrael, what do the Jewish people need, right? Do we need to be in our beds watching more videos of terrible things that have happened? Do we need more tears? Do we need more loneliness? Do we need more sadness? Or do we need more togetherness and more chesed and more mitzvot and more joy and more jokes and more fun and more light? And the second we realize that, me sitting at home and just being in my bed and watching and social media and scrolling, it's not what we need right now. And so I think everybody, and that's what I've been trying to say on my videos, everybody's got something that they can do to help the cause for Am Yisrael right now, the cause for the Jewish people right now. And we all just need to embrace what that is. So for me, it's me being me, and everybody else kind of has their own thing that they have to figure out what they want to do.
What can we do for you, Arky? Because I feel like you've entered everyone's hearts and everyone's homes, and we feel so
Right.
connected. What can we practically do for you, and maybe some ideas in general for the war effort that people can do?
Okay. So number one, and I think this is the most important, keep living your life. Okay. Don't stop everything, right? Don't drop everything. Don't go into sadness and despair. So if you were exercising before, continue exercising. And if you were doing good things before, continue doing those good things. Go to work, get up in the morning, be who you are. And that's the first step in winning, right? Hamas wants us sad, depressed, paralyzed. So just getting up in the morning, getting out and doing what we got to do is in and of itself a win. And then we take that a bit further and we say, okay, maybe I could do something extra, right? Maybe the soldiers, think about just go into the life of a soldier, say, what is it probably really hard for him to do? And maybe I can take that upon myself. So that's what I've been doing in my videos, really sending out people. I tell people, go out on date nights with your spouses on Thursday night because I can't, right? Go play with your kids and not be on the phone because I can't, right? So I don't need you guys to be sad for me. I need you guys to step up for me. And I think that's everybody here in the Army is thinking the same thing. And if I'm going to specify one specific thing that you can do above and beyond all the amazing things that Yad Ezra and V'Shulam have done, is the wives and the kids of the people who are at war. That's who our mind is. That's where our mind is at, right? Make sure they're taken care of. And they are. Am Yisrael has been cooking for us and baking for us and doing everything for us. And I live in Toccoa, and it's this tight-knit community of everybody looking out for each other, but also Jews around the world. I've had people send my kids toys for Shabbat. Like, it was the most, and we still, when I come home from the Army and I get a chance, that's what they want to do. They want to play with these toys. So that kind of stuff is heartwarming. Keep on sending love and support, not just the soldiers. We're getting so much, guys. Like, I haven't eaten Army food. We're going to get fat. Chill out a little bit, right? So many barbecues. Let's look out for the wives and the kids,
I love your message, not just because it's positive, but it's so empowering. I feels actionable. I feel better just listening to you and better, but I feel like I have a long list of ideas now and certain things. We're all very focused on the soldiers. So that's a beautiful idea to think about, focusing on those that are home, that are trying to keep it together as a single parent right now, working and parenting and trying to make life normal and happy for their children.
I'll tell you something that not everybody thinks about, but it's harder for them than it is for us. I'll say that straight up. They're on the front lines. They're in the home front of all of this. Without them, and we've had soldiers that their wives have called them up and said, listen, this is just too hard. And the soldiers have had to come back. So we're not able to do our job unless the home front is taken care of.
Great. Okay, totally get that. Now, Arky, we're going to switch to a little bit more practical and serious. Can you give us what a day in your life looks like?
Okay, so amazing question. And it's kind of a hard question to answer because every day is something different. So we are, Our job in the army is if those have heard of Zaka, which is an organization that collects the bodies of after terrorist attacks. So our job in the army is similar to Zaka. We go in to make sure in war, under fire, to make sure that any soldier who went out to war and who was killed comes back to Israel for burial. And we are trained in searching for bodies and, God forbid, even body parts, and making sure that Hamas does not get to them and they get the proper respect and the families get the proper goodbyes that they deserve. What that means is that we are constantly training, and we're also constantly doing, unfortunately, missions. We've been, since October 7th, as you guys know, there's been so many people killed here, and we were a big part in making sure that all those people who were killed came, it was in Israel, but were removed from the war zone, even when the fighting was still going on. And let's say Zaka won't go in because it's still a war zone. We'll go into the houses or wherever we need to go and making sure those Jews get a burial and bring them back. And it's not easy work. It's not fun work, but it's we all know how important it is. So we have missions and we have training. Today was, thank God, a training day, and we hope to only train and to never use it. But unfortunately, we know that that's not necessarily the case, and we're always ready just in case.
You know, Arky, you said it's not easy work, it's not fun work, but it's holy work.
Absolutely. I constantly say, I think I've done more mitzvot in the last 2 weeks than I have my entire life combined. Like, we are so aware of how important it is, and that's what keeps us going and keeps us strong. And the mental toughness is a huge part of this game, not just toughness, but being able to speak about it afterwards and be vulnerable. And we say that our mental health is our ammunition. And without our mental health, it's like going into war without bullets. So we're taking care of ourselves, and we're making sure that we're understanding the importance of what we do. And people are honking in the streets every time we drive down the road, and it's like one big hug from Am Yisrael.
Wow. Can I ask you, Arky, does this division have mental health counseling or psychologists? Like, how are you prepared? Because obviously there's all the physical training, as you mentioned, and be prepared to fight in a war zone and to defend yourselves. And I heard your video where you said you're carrying heavy stretcher after heavy stretcher. It's unbelievably physically taxing, but you just spoke about the mental health. What is there for you in terms of support, and how do they help you continue to day after day get up and do this incredibly hard and holy work?
Right. So like I said, the Army is taking this very seriously, the mental health aspect of it. And thank God. So after every single mission, we sit down with a psychiatrist, psychologist, or whoever is available, social worker who is in the Army. I'll tell you a story. It was the first Shabbat after October 7th, and they actually called up a religious psychologist from Jerusalem on Shabbat, said, come to the Gaza border, drive to the Gaza border to come talk to the soldiers. I know it's Shabbat, but this is pikuach nefesh. This is something that is so important. It's like saving a life. And he got into his car and drove just to have a conversation with us to make sure that we were okay. So it's taken super seriously. And I have to give a shout out to my unit and my commanders who say, there's no Rambo here. There's no, I'm too strong to talk about it. Everybody can share their feelings, share what they need to talk about, and we're taken care of in that way. Because like I said, if we're not, then it's like we're going into war without ammunition, and we won't do that.
So Arky, tell us, I heard you speak about this and other soldiers about open miracles. They're saying, you don't know, we see all these miracles, keep praying, keep up all your good deeds, keep, as you said, being a light for others, do something good because it's working. Can you tell us more with more specificity and specific stories about what are the open miracles, what's happening, what's working? Because we're over here, we're not connected, we're trying to connect, and we're trying to do our part, but we don't really understand the results on the other end.
Right. So I think, actually, interestingly enough, your last two questions are connected, because the mental health and Hashem protecting us is one and the same. And so I'll tell you the story. We went into Kfar Aza, where there was a massacre the day afterwards, and we had to make sure that all the bodies were properly removed from there and brought to burial. And there were certain houses that were just known to have such difficult scenes that I don't think that my mind was ready to handle it. I really don't. And Hashem protected me. Every time we walked into a house that had something, let's say that I don't think I wanted to see, there was, let's say we walked into a house and there was a terrorist body with a grenade, and the grenade hadn't blown up yet, which means that I wasn't allowed to go into the house until we had to leave and let the unit who's the taking care of the explosives take care of those explosives. By the time the explosives were dealt with, it was already nighttime and another unit had come in and taken over, and I wasn't exposed to what I don't think I was ready to be exposed to. So I felt Hashem there, and Hashem was protecting me from the things, making me, showing me what I needed to do and what I could handle, and shielding me and protecting me from the scenes that I couldn't. And I only realized this recently, and I knew that I felt Hashem there, and I couldn't put my finger on it till now. And it might not feel like an open miracle, like, oh my God, my life was saved, but just the fact that that specific house had a grenade in it, which prevented me from seeing certain sites, could have saved me. And it's kind of crazy.
Completely.
Yeah.
Unfathomable, really.
Yeah.
Arky, Yair's going to be joining us soon, and he's a military strategist, and we'll be talking a little bit more like strategy-wise about what's happening in the war. But can you give us any insights? You're on the ground. We're all reading the news. We all want to, like, what are you seeing? What's happening? We understand encircling Gaza City. You know, one hostage was found. Like, what insights can you give us that we might not be reading, or more detail on what we're reading?
It's hard to say from here. It's hard to say because they do keep the regular soldiers out of the loop on purpose so that no secrets are spilled. And I can tell you that Israel is taking the information battle very seriously. There's a balance here, right? Because that's the Air Force. There's a balance here because if you give out too much information, you're tipping off Hamas. And if you give out too little, then the world is disconnected to what's going on. And the only source of information is Al Jazeera and Hamas. So because of that, they keep a really tight lid on the information. So I hate to say it, but I know what you know, and I can tell you just from an insider's perspective, the soldiers' morale is high. Every single one of us wants to go in, is ready to go in, is proud to serve our country. When I talk about everybody, I'm saying the left-wing soldiers who are just protesting in Dizengoff against the country, and the secular and the religious and the right wing, we're all in this together. Like, okay, we want to go in. We're ready to go in. Whatever is necessary, we're ready. And the truth is that the Army's been doing a great job the last 2 weeks of continuing their ground attack. And at the same time, and I know its priority, is limiting more soldier casualties. And they've done a very good job. I can't really speak to anything that's going to happen. But as a soldier, I feel confident that the Army is doing everything that they can to protect me when they send me inside.
Wow. First of all, it must feel so comforting, and that feels so great. That feels good for us to know. It feels good for you to know. You spoke about morale. I know that lots of political leaders in upper echelon have visited and give talks to soldiers. The war cabinet. Have you been there for any of those like pep talks? And what do they say to you?
So no, I'm a simple soldier over here, just doing my job. I'm not sitting with any generals or any international superstars, but the soldiers do feel supported, and they supported by the upper echelons of the Army, and they supported by the greater Jewish world. There's circles here, right? There's the circle in Israel, and then there's the circle outside of Israel of just the Jewish world, and then there's the entire world that's not even Jewish, that's seeing what we're going through and giving us support. So we take from that support, we see that support, we appreciate that support, and so any leader that comes here to say, Israel, we have your back, is totally welcome. They just don't invite me into the meetings. What can I tell you?
Arky, they don't know what a reach that you have and how valuable it would be for them to treat you like better than the New York Times. So I want to say to everyone who wants to share questions, please go ahead and add your questions, and then one of the co-hosts will share them to me so I can ask Arky. Arky, there's been a lot of discussion about the footage of the horrific massacres, which is obviously, you've explained you have a front row seat to. The first they were doing very private specific screenings. Now it seems that they've expanded that audience. Now in Hollywood, Gal Gadot and an Israeli filmmaker are talking about doing a screening to filmmakers in Hollywood just for them to understand. Having seen what you saw, do you think it's critical that others see? Who needs to see this and why?
Wow, it's an amazing question. I think that the average person sitting at home trying to connect to what happened here does not need to be seeing these things. I can tell you that I was there. I saw everything and all the denials. Oh, there wasn't any rape, there wasn't any beheading. I don't need to go into the details, but it's all total fact. There was all of those things that they are trying to deny, and it's important to combat that denial. And at the same time, the Jewish people do not need to see the atrocities. Our nefesh, our soul, is so beautiful and so whole, and I think that is irreversible damage to see some of those things. And for some people, that's needed. I think for most, it's not. And I can tell you from my personal perspective, I was there. I saw everything, and I still don't want to see those videos. I still can't handle those videos. That would do something to me that would not be, it would be irrevocable damage. And I don't think Am Yisrael needs that right now. We've had enough. We've had so much tears and so much heartbreak, and it's deserved. We deserve that heartbreak. But at the same time, we need strength, we need optimism, we need joy. And I don't think those videos, they'll get to, they need to get to. They'll fight all the deniers. And it's crazy that 3 weeks later, there's people denying this stuff. It needs to go out to the people who need to see it. But I don't think the average person needs to be even going close to that kind of stuff.
Thank you. Thank you for that very important insight. People want to know, Arky, when do you get to come home? And what do you do when you go home?
Beautiful. So I get home when my commander says, okay, you can go home. So far, I've gone home twice since the beginning of this war, once for Shabbat, which was absolutely beautiful, once just for a quick 12-hour leave. And I soak up every moment. I'm with the kids. I hug my wife. Another thing that's not so much talked about is our wives, we talked about this before, are on the forefront. So I have a 5, 3, and 1 year old. Yes. So let's be honest, she needs a break when I get home. So I turn from a soldier on the battlefield to a soldier at home. And I wake up in the middle of the nights and I, get the baby if he's crying and all the things that, on a normal day, that's what would be needed. But because the wives have been working so hard, I come home and I try as much as I can to take over. And I think all of the guys in our unit are doing the same. So we are amazing. It's so amazing to have that time with them. And we also have to step up to make sure that our wives get the break that they need and deserve.
Wow. Arky, you're a model of a human being, truly. Husband, soldier, Jewish person in this world. So inspiring. I love everything you said. I'm glad my husband is watching. Husband's watching too, mine is. So that's like really, really good. And such an inspiration. And what you present, your family, your wife, your relationship, your goals is so aspirational. So thank you, Arky, so much. People just want to know your Hebrew name so that everyone can properly pray for you. And then we're going to show a wonderful video of Yad Ezra V'Shulam before we go to Yair. So what's your name?
My name is Aharon Ben Chana Sipora. Thank you so much for the prayers, the love, the support, everything. It's amazing.
Okay, first of all, amazing. Arky, actually, I have one more question that came from the crowd, and I want to respect everyone who showed up. They're asking, what happens when you encounter a body of one of the terrorists? Are you mentally able to give the body the same respect as a Jewish person who has fallen, who has been killed and murdered?
That's a very good question. There's differences. Sometimes we don't know. When the bodies are in bad shape, we don't know whether it's a terrorist or not. So we have to give the respect as if it's an Israeli, as if it's a Jew, and they get sent to the body processing where they do DNA and then they figure it out. But if you know it's a terrorist, you're able to disconnect emotionally. you're not as sad about it. Let's be honest, right? This person came into a Jewish communities. I'm not sad that he's dead. On the other hand, you walk into a Jewish home and your heart breaks. So on the one hand, it is harder to deal with the terrorists because you don't feel that like mitzvah. You don't feel like this is such an important thing. But on the other hand, you're able to disconnect it from it emotionally, and you're able to say, okay, this guy's dead. Let's put him in a bag. And yes, there's a different level of respect, as we should, to the Jewish people who were killed and the terrorists. And those terrorists are put into the body bag, sent, and they are actually buried by Israel. But we're not as crushed and hurt the same way we are at all with the Jewish body.
Of course. Well, Arky, we want to give you so much strength, and just know that we're all standing with you. I don't know if you heard at the beginning, 26 different countries are representing here on this call. We stand with you, we support you, your family, all of the Jewish people, and that you should be able to continue to do the good, holy, and hard work that you're doing and come home safe and sound to your family very soon.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Okay, I can't wait. I'm booking you for the tour, Arky. So come on.
Good.
Come
Sounds
home.
Good. Book your trip to Israel. That's going to be your next job, Am Yisrael. As soon as this war is over, book your trip. Come.
I love that. I love that. Yes. Okay, and get a tour with Arky. Thank you, Arky, so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Okay, we are waiting for Yair Ansbacher, who is our military strategist, who will be joining. We'll get more into a little bit of the politics and strategy around the war, but we wanted to share an amazing video with you from Yad Ezra V'Shulam.
In the heart of Israel, a nation cherished by so many around the globe, a crisis unfolds. Day and night, unseen battles are waged. A struggle not just for peace, but for survival. Imagine, amid the chaos, the simplest of human needs becomes a challenge. Food, a necessity so fundamental yet for many in Israel an uncertainty. Yad Ezra V'Shulam stands as a beacon of hope. When sirens wail and rockets threaten, we are there. Our mission is clear, but our supplies dwindle. From Netivah to Beersheba, north to south, our trucks deliver food, but the need outpaces our supply. Our spirit is willing, our purpose unwavering, yet the reality is stark. We require more to continue. More trucks, more food, more donations reaching from around the world to the heart of the people of Israel. Your support is critical. It's not just a donation. It's a lifeline to those in bomb shelters, to the soldiers fighting on the front lines. This is your call to stand with Israel, to feed the hungry, to protect the vulnerable. Together, we can replenish the empty shelves in our 4 distribution warehouses across Israel and bring comfort to our brothers, sisters, and children facing the unimaginable. Join us in our mission of mercy. Your generosity is their provision. May your kindness echo through the hills of Israel, and may peace and abundance prevail soon. Your action is their hope. Donate now.
Okay,
so
guys,
how are you?
How are we? We want to know how you are. I want to properly introduce you first, Yair, just for a moment for everyone. We have hundreds of people joining from over 26 countries, you should know. Everyone, please, it is an honor to introduce Yair Ansbacher. He's an IDF reservist and research fellow at the Miskav Institute, a renowned security consultant and counter-terrorism expert. Okay, Yair, we want to know from you, please, you're on the front lines. What's going on? Give us some insight today.
So it's an honor and privilege. It's good to see you guys. My name is Yair Ansbacher, and in the last 30 days and so I'm having different types of things that I'm doing, different, you can say, efforts that I'm doing in the IDF and other security agencies. At the moment, I'm a reservist in the CT, in the counter-terrorism unit, just a regular guy, just a regular troop. But I'm doing other things also, researching and have some doing with strategic things and also some operative things. So I'm actually living on all the stages and levels, from the strategic through the operative to the tactical level. which is interesting. Actually, life is interesting. I would say that at the moment, well, we are actually in a very large scale war here. It's not only about Gaza. We're up against Iran that planned this scam, this horrible satanic program, planned it very well um, in about, I don't know, maybe 10 years, maybe more. I know that they are planning on Israel for 40 years, but this plan was created probably 10 years ago. And we are confronting different proxies that Iran uh, um, trained and of course gave them the money, the weapons, etc., and the technique and the intelligence. So the main idea is like octopus. There are the tentacles. They're those who are playing with us, and the head of the octopus is in Tehran. I don't know, about maybe 3,000 kilometers away from here. So we of course know all that, and we're dealing right now. We're doing it in an order. I think that it's very important for the Jewish people and the Israeli people, both in Israel and around the world, to know that I know that we are feeling very bad. We are all of us. We feel bad because we lost a lot of good of life, and we are missing our beloved ones. And of course, we have about 200 people or so that were kidnapped to Gaza, and this was very humiliated. It was very we were under a surprise strategic strike, much like Pearl Harbor or 9/11. They planned this very well, and they did it and it's painful. But in a strategic way, this whole thing is actually kind of upside down. It's rolled, and now we are on top of this situation because the whole thing was planned as a surprise, a horrible satanic surprise party. And imagine that someone is planning and preparing himself to one single moment, to preparing this moment of surprise when he shouts surprise, and then you're surprised and you don't know what's going on, you're shocked. And like 1 minute before that, someone who is from the party, one of the planners or one of the people that organized the party, is just shouting back in the parking slot in the backyard to the guy who needed to be surprised. Hey, you know that you're gonna have a surprise party in a moment, and he ruined the whole thing. So this is what the Palestinians did to the Iranian plan. The Iranian plan was to use both the Hamas and Hezbollah up north together, combined force from two fronts to put us on the dilemma, on the horn of the dilemma, and then we would be in a horrible situation. They didn't do that because the Palestinians actually surprised everyone. They had their own initiative, you can say that, and their own motivation to do so. And they jumped. The IDF was surprised, and of course the other enemies around in the area was also surprised. And that's the first miracle, because the Palestinians were sure that if they will do that, the Iranians and their proxies, we're talking about militias in Syria, we're talking about in Yemen, of course, the Hezbollah from Lebanon, they will all go in. And this horrible thing didn't happen. The Palestinians just went alone by themselves to the war. And after the first shock, and after the first tsunami wave of those maniacs running into our land, we kind of reorganized and pushed them back and killed all of those terrorists in not a lot of time. I mean, it's actually kind of a horrible miracle, because in CT situation, counterterrorism situation, when I think this Black Shabbos is the horrible, it's the biggest nightmare of a counterterrorism unit or commander, because you're you're circled, you find yourself in your own territory full of civilians all around. The terrorists are armed heavily by automatic fire, automatic weapons, including machine guns, of course, rocket launchers, both against vehicle, against people, against aircraft and helicopters. They had different types of IEDs, grenades, all those weapons and arsenal, and you're going there after they already started to do their horrible job, horrible massacre. So this is a nightmare. And actually, it's a big miracle that only after 36 hours, we managed to clean the south of the country from those. They're talking about 3,000 terrorists. This is actually an army of terrorists. It's not when you think about terrorists, you think about something small. This was very big amount of people and equipment. You can think about it in a military way as a I don't know, maybe a corps, maybe an army of very trained, very weaponized terrorists. So they didn't knew that they're going against not only the first layer of defense, the line, the brigade of Gaza, but they actually went into the kibbutzim and into the land, and they ran into thousands of Israeli heroes. And we're talking not only about soldiers, we're talking about regular Israelis, men, women, of course, police officers and people of Kitat Konenut, the people who are emergency people from the Yeshuvim themselves. We have suffered a lot of casualties, but the people of Israel, the Jews, were not cattle. They were not butchered. They were fighting in hundreds, maybe thousands of small firefights along the border. So this was the first stage. We cleared the whole south after 36 hours. Then the next stage was to reorganize the army, the big army, and to go against our enemies. And the IDF decided to go first against Gaza, and parallel, in the meantime, reorganize himself also in the north and in other areas inside inland Israel. So we did all that. And now the third stage was to go into Gaza. And this is actually should have been the more complicated thing, because Gaza is not only a very, how would you say it's a tzafuf? What is the word in English for tzafuf?
Congested.
Full of people, very crowded.
Yeah.
And it's actually very booby-trapped. These guys were prepared to the IDF for many years, and what we are seeing inside Gaza is actually it makes me as a person who learned those type of modern warfare things, especially in urban situation, very happy and very proud, because the IDF is doing an amazing job. It actually is inside the heart and the mind of Hamas. We see that the Hamas terrorists almost finished firing the rockets. This is not a coincidence. This is actually the fact that the IDF is inside, making their life very hard, very difficult to launch inside Israel. And of course, we're killing a lot of terrorists, including high rank, I don't know, I wouldn't say officers, but commanders inside Hamas, as Adin al-Qassam, etc., etc. And of course, blowing up those headquarters, a lot of tunnels. We're talking miles and miles of underground tunnels, etc.
But Yair, you mentioned Yair, the tunnels. And I think one of the number one things on people's mind right now is our hostages and are missing. How is that operation happening in parallel with what you're talking about, obviously, on the military front?
So of course there are things that I cannot say, but you can imagine that inside the IDF, especially in the Special Operation Forces community, where some of those units were the first to jump to confront the terrorists because they were very rapid. They're regular in very short circles of understanding and then reorganize and move and go to action. So some of them were, of course, lost their friends and etc. Every unit, I think, about. So the SOF community is on the thing, and we are trying to do our best. Of course, nobody here in this war or in the IDF or in the Jewish world is alone. We are together, first of all, by others, other Jews, other Israelis, and we feel this amazing this amazing feeling of being together. Even now, I don't know you guys, and we are around the globe, but I can feel it. We can feel it. So that's the first thing. Being together makes us very strong, and we believe that this power can help us to do military miracles, including operations of rescuing those hostages, those poor people and women and children and babies.
I mean, Yair, you said we tried to do good. Everyone here on this call wants to do good. What can we do for you? What can we do for the effort?
Okay, so I would say this. I know, and as I said, I feel that you are with us, and that's the first thing. Your prayers, your Tehillim, your psalms. I can feel you guys in this specific moment. That's the best, and that's the best feeling in the world. This is the basic, and this is amazing. We don't need, whatever you're gonna do, and that's the second thing. That will be the second part, but the first part is what you're doing right now, being with us. We are all together now. And the second thing is, I'm sure that I know that you guys are wise, you are smart, you are qualified for this. In your entire life prepared you for this moment. I'm talking about all of you guys, men, women who watch us now, and your families. I know that you will find the path and you will find the way with God Almighty help.
And now with the wartime, Yad Ezra V'Shulam is getting countless calls, as you know, from both the army and civilians in need of water, snacks, and food. My heart goes out to everyone. Thank you, Yad Ezra V'Shulam, for all that you do. Thank you for everyone here for all of your support. Together, we can and will win this war. Am Yisrael Chai. Please, for more information, go to the website, yadezra.net. We love you. You're a part of the family, as I said. It means so much to join together in this solidarity and support for our soldiers. We heard so much. If you tuned in late, of course, we will be able to send you the recorded version.